Hey, hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Let's learn with Lizzie. Let me begin today with a question. Can a human being defeat destiny? Can power protect someone from fate? What if a king decides that he will not die the way destiny has planned? And what if he challenges the nature itself? Today we are going to study a very powerful, satirical, and deeply ironic story, The Tiger King, written by Kalki Krishnamurthy. This chapter is extremely important for your board examination because it covers areas like irony, satire, character analysis, theme of fate versus free will. So today's explanation will not just retell the story. We will analyze it very deeply, just like the examiners expect you to do. Now let us begin by understanding the writer Kalki Krishnamurthy. Kalki Krishnamurthy was a famous Indian writer and journalist. He was known for his wit, his satire, and his sharp criticism of rulers. He wrote during a time when princely states existed in India. Through humor and exaggeration, he criticized arrogant rulers, blind belief in superstition, abuse of authority. The Tiger King is not just about hunting, it is a satire on power and ego. Now, let us understand the setting and the background of the story. The story is set in a fictional state called Pratibandhapuram. It represents a typical princely state ruled by a monarch. The king has absolute authority here. No one dares to question him. This setting is very important. Why? Because it allows the writer to show how dangerous power becomes when no one challenges it. Now let us move to the beginning of the story, the prophecy. The story opens with the birth of a prince in Pratibandhapuram. At the birth of the prince, astrologers predict something shocking. They say the prince will grow up brave, but one day he will be killed by a tiger. This prophecy becomes the central force of the whole story. Interestingly, the baby prince speaks at 10 days old and says, "Let tigers beware." This exaggeration introduces humor and satire. But from this moment, fear enters his life, and that fear slowly becomes obsession. Let us now see how. When he becomes the Maharaja, he remembers the prophecy. Instead of accepting the fate, he decides to challenge it. He declares he will kill 100 tigers. Notice something important for exams. He uses royal authority for his personal fear. He bans tiger hunting for everyone else. Why? Because he wants all tigers to be killed only by him. This shows his ego, arrogance, misuse of power. He is not thinking about the kingdom, he is thinking about his survival. Now, let us see how far this obsession goes. The Maharaja kills almost 99 tigers successfully. With every tiger, his pride increases. But notice carefully, he does not care about ecology, people, administration. His only focus is defeating destiny. This shows the theme of pride leading to downfall. Now comes the biggest problem, there are no more tigers left. What does he do? To continue hunting, he marries a princess from another state that has many tigers. Marriage becomes a hunting strategy. This is pure satire. It shows emotional emptiness, selfish ambition, ridiculous priorities. Finally, he reaches 99. But the 100th tiger is nowhere to be found. Now comes the turning point, the 100th tiger. The Divans feared losing his job. So he arranges a weak tiger secretly. This king shoots at it. He thinks he has killed it, but actually he misses. The hunters later kill the tiger to protect themselves. The king lives in illusion that this moment shows power protects him from the truth. He believes he has defeated destiny, but destiny has not finished yet. So here comes the ironic ending of the story. On his son's birthday, he buys a wooden toy tiger. While playing, a small splinter pierces his hand. The wound becomes infected. Despite surgery, he dies. The prophecy is fulfilled. He is killed by a tiger, but not a real one. This is called as the dramatic irony. He killed 99 real tigers, but died because of a toy. And this is poetic justice. I hope you have clearly understood the summary of the story. Now let's move on to the character analysis of the story, because understanding the characters in detail is very important for long answer questions and analysis part. So, the first character, the most important character, or I can say the protagonist of the story, is the Tiger King, Maharaja of Pratibandhapuram. He was quite arrogant, power hungry, and obsessed with defeating his fate. And he uses royal authority for personal ego rather than for people's welfare. He believes that he can overpower destiny by killing all the tigers. His irrational decision reflects hubris and tyranny. And then comes the astrologer who represents fate and destiny. His prediction is treated lightly at first, but becomes the driving force of the whole story. The astrologer symbolizes how belief in superstition can control one's decisions. And then comes the divan and the courtiers. They are sycophantic, overly flattering people afraid to tell the truth. They support the king's absurd orders to save themselves, and they represent blind obedience and misuse of power structure. And finally comes the invisible character, the wooden toy tiger, who symbolizes the irony and fate, the instrument of the king's death. Despite eliminating all real tigers, he is killed by a harmless toy tiger. And now let's move on to the themes of these stories. So, the first theme in the story is fate versus free will. The Maharaja tries to outrun destiny by killing all the tigers in his kingdom, and for killing more tigers, he marries a princess from a kingdom which has more tigers. And in the end, what happens? Fate triumphs in a dramatically ironic way. He dies due to a toy tiger. The story highlights that no human, not even a king, can escape the destiny. And then comes the pride and arrogance of power. In his position, the power blinds him to reality and moral duty. He prioritizes his ego over the welfare of his kingdom. The narrative satirizes rulers who misuse authority for trivial aim. And then moving on to the theme of satire on superstition and authority. The story pokes fun at irrational beliefs and royal ego. Kalki uses humor, exaggeration, and irony to expose weakness in power structure. And then we are having human versus nature. The Maharaja tries to exert control over nature by killing tigers. Nature wins in the end and showing its dominance over human plants. And then comes the irony and poetic justice. The king's death by a wooden toy tiger is the very thing he believed couldn't harm him, is the strongest example of the irony in the literature. And now let's move on to understanding the literary devices used in the story. First comes the irony, which is very clear. The king dies not from a real tiger, but from a toy tiger. That is dramatic irony given in the story. And then comes the satire. The author critiques rulers' vanity, misuse of power, and blind belief in superstition. And the author uses dark humor, which makes serious themes engaging and memorable. And finally, symbolism is used where the tigers symbolize fate, fear, and natures. So now let us focus on the title significance. The Tiger King is appropriate title because the king's destiny is defined by the number of tigers he kills, but he becomes a symbol of power, aggression, and irrational leadership. His life revolves entirely around this obsession, and his downfall is linked to the same because at the end of the story, he is killed by a tiger, and finally, giving significance to the title, The Tiger King. And the moral and the message of the story is human arrogance, obsession, and misuse of power lead to downfall. Fate cannot be cheated no matter how powerful one is. And respect for life and nature is essential because ruling should focus on welfare, not ego. Let us conclude. The Tiger King believed he could defeat fate. He used power, he used authority, he used violence. But destiny waited patiently and struck silently. Through a splinter, the story teaches us no one can escape destiny. Power and pride leads to downfall. Power without wisdom is dangerous. And that's why the story remains powerful and relevant even today. So that's it for today. If you felt like this video was quite helpful for you, kindly please hit the like, share, and subscribe button, and see you soon in the upcoming video. Bye bye.